Hi, I'm Mia Chen Williams, and I'm about to tell you the story of the Thanksgiving that changed everything. You know those families you see in movies? The ones with the perfect white picket fence and holiday traditions that go back generations? Well, I married into one of those families. The problem is, I was never really supposed to be part of the picture. It's November 2023, and I'm sitting in my BMW in the driveway of the Williams family estate in Beacon Hill, Boston. The house looks like something out of a historical magazine. Red brick, black shutters, and ivy climbing up the walls. I can see the warm glow of lights through the windows, and I know that inside, 3 generations of Williams are gathering for what they call the most important meal of the year. My hands are gripping the steering wheel tighter than they should be. After 7 years of marriage to David and countless family gatherings, you'd think I'd be used to this feeling in my stomach, but I'm not. Every time I walk through that front door, I feel like I'm stepping into a world where I don't quite belong. Let me back up and tell you how I got here. I'm a first-generation Chinese American, born in San Francisco to parents who came here with nothing but dreams and determination. My father worked 3 jobs to put me through college, and my mother cleaned offices at night while studying for her nursing degree during the day. They taught me that hard work and education were the keys to success in America. I met David at Harvard Business School. He was this charming, confident guy from old Boston money, and I was the scholarship kid who studied twice as hard as everyone else just to keep up. We fell in love over late-night study sessions and shared dreams of changing the world through smart development. After graduation, I started my own real estate development company, Chen Development Group. The business took off faster than I ever imagined. I specialized in mixed-use developments that brought together housing, retail, and community spaces. Within 5 years, Chen Development Group had become one of the most respected firms in New England. But success in business doesn't automatically translate to acceptance in certain social circles. The Williams family had been part of Boston's elite for over 2 centuries. David's father, Richard Williams, was a senior partner at one of the city's oldest law firms. They moved in circles where everyone knew everyone, where family names opened doors, and where tradition was sacred. When David first brought me home to meet his parents, I thought I was prepared. But from the moment I walked through that front door, I could feel the weight of their expectations, or rather, their lack of them. Richard Williams was polite, but distant. When I mentioned that my parents were immigrants, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Not quite disapproval, but definitely surprise. Margaret Williams, David's mother, was more subtle. She smiled and said all the right things, but I could sense her calculating whether I was suitable for her son. The real test came when David proposed. I thought that once we were engaged, I would finally be welcomed into the family fold. Instead, the opposite happened. Margaret began making comments about our wedding plans, suggesting that perhaps we should have a small, intimate ceremony instead of the celebration David and I had been dreaming of. The wedding itself was beautiful, but it felt like a performance. Margaret had insisted on certain traditions, certain flowers, certain songs. When my parents wanted to include a tea ceremony to honor our Chinese heritage, she reluctantly agreed, but made sure it was relegated to a brief moment before the real ceremony began. After the wedding, I hoped things would improve. I threw myself into being the perfect daughter-in-law. I attended every family gathering, remembered every birthday, and even volunteered for the charity events that Margaret organized. But no matter what I did, I always felt like I was being tolerated rather than embraced. The comments were subtle, but constant. "Oh, Mia, you're so lucky to have David. He's really opened up your world, hasn't he?" Or, "It's so wonderful how you've adapted to our way of life." They spoke to me like I was a foreign exchange student, rather than a Harvard-educated businesswoman who had built a multi-million-dollar company. But the worst part was the way they talked about family traditions, as if they were sacred rituals that couldn't be changed. Every Christmas, Easter, and Thanksgiving had to be exactly the same as it had been for generations. When I suggested we might try something different or include some of my family's traditions, I was met with polite resistance. The irony isn't lost on me. While I've been trying so hard to fit into their world, I've been quietly building something that none of them could have imagined. 3 years ago, I bought a property in Martha's Vineyard, the old Hendricks estate, a sprawling compound with a main house, guest house, and private beach. The Hendricks family had fallen on hard times and needed to sell quickly. I was able to purchase it at a significant discount. The Williams family has been vacationing on Martha's Vineyard for as long as David can remember. They used to rent the same house every summer, but a few years ago, the owners decided to sell. The family was devastated. That's when I stepped in and offered to let them use my property for their annual vacation. They were so grateful. And for a moment, I thought this might be the thing that finally made them accept me. But even then, Margaret found ways to make it clear that I was still the outsider. She would rearrange the furniture to match their old rental house and make comments about how the place needed a woman's touch, as if I hadn't spent months working with an interior designer. The thing is, I never told them that I owned the property. I let them believe that I was just managing it for a friend, or had some kind of special arrangement with the owners. Maybe because I knew that if they realized I owned their precious vacation home, it would shift the power dynamic in a way that would make them uncomfortable. Now, as I sit in this driveway, I'm thinking about all of this history. 7 years of trying to fit into a mold that was never meant for me. 7 years of biting my tongue when Margaret made her little comments. 7 years of pretending that everything was fine. I take a deep breath and look at myself in the rearview mirror. I'm wearing a burgundy cashmere sweater and pearl earrings, the uniform of a proper Boston wife. My long black hair is pulled back in a neat chignon, and my makeup is perfect. I look the part, but I feel like I'm wearing a costume. I check my phone. It's 2:47 p.m. and I'm already 20 minutes late. I grab my purse and the bottle of wine I brought, a 2018 Bordeaux that cost more than most people spend on groceries in a month. It's a peace offering, a way of showing that I understand what's expected of me. But as I walk up the brick pathway to the front door, I can feel something shifting inside me. Maybe it's the way the autumn light is hitting the house. Or maybe it's just the accumulation of years of small slights and subtle exclusions. Whatever it is, I have a feeling that this Thanksgiving is going to be different. When David opens the door, his face lights up with genuine warmth. He's wearing a navy sweater and khakis, the Williams family uniform, and he looks so handsome that my heart skips a beat. "Mia, there you are." I was starting to worry. He pulls me into a hug, and for a moment, I remember why I fell in love with him in the first place. "Sorry I'm late. I got caught up at the office." "Come on, everyone's in the living room. Mom's been asking about you." The living room is exactly as I remembered it. Persian rugs, antique furniture, and oil paintings of long-dead Williams ancestors staring down from the walls. The whole family is here. Richard and Margaret, David's sister Caroline and her husband Tom, their 3 kids, David's brother Michael and his wife Sarah, and their twin boys. "Mia, darling." Margaret rises from her chair and air kisses me on both cheeks. She's wearing a cream-colored silk blouse and a string of pearls. "You look lovely. How was the drive?" "Fine, thank you." I hand her the wine, and she examines the label with scrutiny. "Oh, how thoughtful. We'll have to save this for a special occasion. It's a small slight, but it stings." The wine was supposed to be for today's dinner, but apparently, Thanksgiving with the family isn't special enough. After making the rounds with everyone, Margaret claps her hands together. "Well, I think it's time we all went in for dinner. I hope everyone's hungry." We file into the dining room, and I immediately notice something that makes my stomach drop. The main table is set for 10 people, but there are 11 of us here. There's a smaller table set up in the corner, the children's table, with 4 chairs. "Mia, dear," Margaret says, with that same sweet smile. "I hope you don't mind, but we had to make some adjustments to the seating this year. The children's table is right over there." I stand there for a moment, not quite believing what I'm hearing. The children's table. After 7 years of marriage, after building a successful business, after contributing to this family in countless ways, they want me to sit at the children's table. This is my moment. I can feel it crystallizing in front of me. I can either swallow my pride one more time, or I can finally stand up for myself. I think about my parents, who worked so hard to give me opportunities they never had. I think about my company, which has created hundreds of jobs and thousands of homes. I think about all the times I've bitten my tongue, all the subtle insults I've endured. And then I think about Martha's Vineyard. "Actually, Margaret," I say, my voice steady and clear, "before we sit down, there's something I need to tell everyone." The room falls silent. Even the children stop talking and look at me with curious eyes. "I think you should all know that the house in Martha's Vineyard, the one your family has been using for your vacations for the past 3 years, is actually mine. I own it. The silence that follows is deafening. I can hear the grandfather clock ticking in the hallway, the sound of someone's wine glass being set down too hard on the table. "What did you say?" Richard's voice is barely above a whisper. "I said I own the house in Martha's Vineyard. I bought it 3 years ago, and I've been letting your family use it because I thought it would make you happy. But apparently, even that wasn't enough to earn me a seat at the adult table." The chaos in the dining room continues for what feels like hours, but is probably only minutes. I stand there watching the Williams family implode, and for the first time in 7 years, I feel like I'm seeing them clearly. Margaret has sunk into the nearest chair, her perfectly composed facade cracking. "This can't be happening," she keeps repeating, her voice getting higher with each iteration. "The Hendricks family would never sell to... They wouldn't..." She doesn't finish the sentence, but I know what she was going to say. "They wouldn't sell to someone like me." Richard is pacing back and forth, his lawyer instincts kicking in. There has to be some kind of mistake. Properties like that don't just change hands without the community knowing. "Dad, stop." David finally speaks up, his voice strained. "If Mia says she owns it, she owns it. She's not lying about something like this." "But how is that possible?" Caroline chimes in, her voice shrill with panic. "We've been planning next summer's vacation there for months. The kids are expecting it." The mention of future plans makes me want to laugh. Even in their panic, they're thinking about how to claim ownership of something that was never theirs. "I can show you the deed if you'd like," I offer, pulling out my phone. "I also have all the renovation receipts, the property tax statements, and the insurance documents." Michael, who has been quiet until now, suddenly speaks up. "Wait, if you own the house, then who have we been paying rent to all these years?" The room goes even quieter. I can see the realization dawning on their faces. "You haven't been paying rent," I say simply. "I've been letting you use it for free." "Free?" Margaret's voice is barely a whisper. "But the utilities, the maintenance, the property taxes, all paid by me. The landscaping, the pool cleaning, the repairs after that storm last summer, all of it. I've been covering everything because I thought it would make you happy." David is staring at me with an expression I've never seen before. It's part admiration, part confusion, and part something that might be fear. "Mia, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell any of us?" I take a deep breath. "Because I thought it didn't matter. I thought you accepted me for who I was, not what I owned. I thought that if you knew I had that kind of money, that kind of property, it would change things between us." "Of course it would change things," Richard says sharply. "Do you have any idea how much that property is worth?" "The Hendricks estate has been in their family since the 1800s, a piece of history that they were happy to sell to me when they needed the money," I reply. "And it's not just the house. I own 12 acres of waterfront property, including the private beach where your grandchildren learn to swim." 8-year-old Sophie, Caroline's daughter, pipes up with the innocence that only children possess. "Aunt Mia, does that mean the house with the tire swing is yours?" "Yes, sweetheart. I had that tire swing installed last year after I noticed you kids didn't have anything to play on by the water." "Cool. Can we still go there this summer?" The simple question from a child cuts through all the adult complexity. Everyone turns to look at me, and I realize that I hold all the cards now. "I don't know, Sophie," I say gently. "That depends on a lot of things." Margaret finally finds her voice again. "Mia, I think there's been a misunderstanding. The seating arrangement tonight, it wasn't meant to be insulting." I almost laugh at the transparent attempt to rewrite history. "Margaret, you've been trying to put me in my place for 7 years. Tonight was just the first time you were this obvious about it." "That's not true," she protests weakly. "Isn't it? Let me ask you something. In all the time I've been part of this family, have you ever once asked me about my business, about my achievements, about the affordable housing projects I've built?" The silence that follows is answer enough. "But you can tell me all about Caroline's charity work, can't you? You can discuss Michael's promotion at the bank for 20 minutes. But when it comes to me, the conversation never gets past pleasantries." David steps forward, his face flushed. "Mia, that's not fair. My family has always been welcoming to you." "Welcoming?" I turn to face him. "David, they seated me at the children's table, at Thanksgiving dinner. After 7 years of marriage," he opens his mouth to respond, but no words come out. I can see him struggling with the realization that maybe I'm right. Here's what's going to happen, I announced to the room. I'm going to leave now. I'm going to go home and spend the rest of Thanksgiving with people who actually value my presence. And tomorrow, I'm going to start making some decisions about the future. What kind of decisions? Margaret asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Well, for starters, I'm going to decide whether to put the Martha's Vineyard property on the market. It's worth about $8 million now, according to the latest appraisal. The gasp that goes around the room is audible. Margaret actually clutches her chest. You can't do that, she whispers. Actually, I can. It's my property. But our memories, Caroline says, tears streaming down her face. All our family memories are there. Your family memories are there because I made it possible, because I bought the house and maintained it, and welcomed you there year after year, even when you made it clear that I wasn't really welcome anywhere else. I pick up my purse and walk toward the door. The family follows me, all talking at once. Mia, please don't go, David says, reaching for my arm. Let's talk about this. I stop and turn to face him. David, I love you. I've loved you since the day we met. But I can't keep pretending that this is working. I can't keep being the outsider who's grateful for scraps of acceptance. What are you saying? I'm saying that I need some time to think. About us. About this family. About what I want my future to look like. I walk to the front door and pause with my hand on the handle. For what it's worth, I say without turning around. I really did want to be part of this family. I tried harder than you'll ever know. But I'm done trying to earn something that should have been freely given. I open the door and step out into the crisp November air. Behind me, I can hear voices calling my name, but I don't turn around. I walk to my car with my head held high, feeling lighter than I have in years. As I drive away from the Williams estate, I catch a glimpse of the family in my rearview mirror. They're standing in the doorway, watching me leave, probably wondering how their perfectly planned Thanksgiving dinner turned into a disaster. But for the first time in 7 years, I'm not worried about what they think of me. I'm not calculating how to fix this or make it better. I'm simply driving toward my own future, whatever that might look like. The revelation is out now. The secret I've been carrying for 3 years is finally in the open. And instead of feeling guilty or ashamed, I feel powerful. For the first time in my marriage, I'm the one with leverage. I'm the one who gets to decide what happens next. I think about the irony of it all. While they've been treating me like someone who should be grateful for their acceptance, I've been the one with the power all along. I've been the one providing their family retreat, their sacred space, their precious memories, and I've been doing it out of love, out of a desperate desire to belong. But love shouldn't require desperation. Acceptance shouldn't come with conditions, and belonging shouldn't mean erasing yourself to fit someone else's expectations. As I drive through the familiar streets of Boston, I realize that I've been living in someone else's story for too long. Tonight, I finally started writing my own. The drive home takes me through Cambridge, past Harvard where David and I first met. Tonight, instead of feeling nostalgic, I feel like I'm seeing everything with new eyes. For the first time in 7 years, I'm not analyzing what went wrong or how I could have handled things differently. I end up at my office building in the South End. Chen Development Group occupies the top 2 floors, and I've always been proud of the space. Exposed brick walls, floor-to-ceiling windows, and an open layout. From my corner office, I can see the neighborhoods where my company has built affordable housing complexes. Each building represents families who now have safe, beautiful homes because of work I've done. My phone has been buzzing non-stop since I left the house. Text messages from David, missed calls from Caroline, even a voicemail from Margaret. I ignore them all and open my laptop. If I'm going to make decisions about my future, I need to understand exactly what I'm dealing with. I pull up the Martha's Vineyard property files. The house is currently valued at $8.2 million plus another $2 million I've put into renovations. New kitchen with custom cabinetry, updated bathrooms with imported marble, renovated guest house, extensive landscaping. The property is now worth over $10 million, and I own it free and clear. I scroll through photos from the renovations. There I am, wearing work boots and a hard hat, working with contractors to choose the perfect shade of blue for the guest bedroom walls. There's the day we installed the new dock, with me directing the workers on proper placement. Photo after photo of me caring for a property that the Williams family considered their own. The irony is overwhelming. While they were treating me like an outsider, I was literally building their dream home. While they were making subtle comments about my suitability, I was ensuring their children would have a perfect place to make memories. My phone rings. David's name on the screen. Mia, thank God you picked up. Where are you? Are you okay? I'm at the office. I'm fine. Come home. We need to talk about this. Do we? Your family seated me at the children's table, David. After 7 years of marriage, they still don't see me as an adult member of the family. I know, and I'm sorry. I should have said something. I should have stood up for you. Yes, you should have. Just like you should have stood up for me when your mother criticized our wedding plans, or when your father made comments about my parents' immigration story. There's a long pause. I didn't realize. I thought you were okay with all of that. You never said anything. I shouldn't have had to say anything. You should have noticed how your family was treating your wife. You're right, he says quietly. I failed you. I was so focused on keeping peace in the family that I didn't protect you the way I should have. It's the first time he's acknowledged this so directly. David, this isn't just about tonight. This is about 7 years of feeling like I don't belong. 7 years of biting my tongue and making excuses for behavior that should have been unacceptable to you. I know. God, Mia, I'm so sorry. I love you. I don't want to lose you over this. Then what are you going to do about it? I'll talk to my family. I'll make them understand that their behavior was unacceptable. And if they don't want to change, then I'll have to choose between them and you. Yes, you will. And I need to know that you'll choose me. Not because you have to, but because you understand that I deserve better than what I've been getting. You do deserve better. And I choose you. I've always chosen you, even when I didn't show it properly. I want to believe him, but trust isn't rebuilt with a single conversation. David, I'm going to need some time to think about all of this, about us, about what I want my future to look like. Okay, I understand. But please, don't do anything drastic. Don't sell the vineyard house. The vineyard house is my property. I'll make whatever decisions I think are best. After I hang up, I sit in the quiet of my office. There's anger, certainly, but also relief. For 7 years, I've been carrying the secret of the Martha's Vineyard house, and now it's out in the open. My phone buzzes with a text from my assistant, Jason. Saw the news about the Henderson project getting approved. Congratulations. Hope you're having a great Thanksgiving with family. I smile despite everything. The Henderson project is a mixed-use development in Roxbury that will provide 150 units of affordable housing along with retail space and a community center. It's been in planning for 2 years, and the city council finally approved it yesterday. In all the drama with the Williams family, I'd almost forgotten about this victory. This is who I am. This is what I do. I create homes for families, opportunities for communities, spaces where people can build better lives. While the Williams family has been questioning my worth, I've been quietly changing the landscape of this city. I text back, thanks. Let's celebrate on Monday. My phone rings again. Caroline this time. Mia, please don't hang up. I need to talk to you. Her voice is thick with tears. I owe you an apology. A huge apology. I never realized how we were treating you. The night opened my eyes to things I should have seen years ago. What things? The way Mom talks about you when you're not around. The way she plans events without considering your preferences. Oh God, Mia. She asked me not to invite you to Emma's baptism last year because she thought it might be awkward having someone who wasn't Christian at a church ceremony. I close my eyes. It's one thing to suspect these conversations happen. It's another to have them confirmed. I should have stood up for you. Caroline continues. I should have questioned why you were never included in the planning for family events. I should have noticed that you always seemed uncomfortable at gatherings. Why didn't you? Because it was easier not to. Because confronting Mom about her behavior would have caused drama. And I hate conflict. Because I convinced myself that if you were really unhappy, you would say something. I shouldn't have had to say something, Caroline. You should have cared enough to notice. You're right. And I'm sorry. I can hear genuine remorse in her voice. Caroline, I appreciate your apology, but saying sorry isn't enough. If you really want things to change, you're going to have to be willing to have those difficult conversations with your mother. You're going to have to speak up when you see behavior that's wrong. I will. I promise I will. But Mia, please don't sell the Vineyard house. The kids love it there. Sophie still talks about the tire swing you put up for them. The house isn't going anywhere tonight, Caroline. But I need to see real change before I make any long-term commitments. What kind of change? The kind that means I'm treated like a full member of this family, not a guest who should be grateful for invitations. The kind that means my heritage is celebrated, not tolerated. The kind that means your mother stops making comments about how lucky I am to have married David. I understand. And I'll talk to her. I'll talk to all of them. After we hang up, I feel cautiously optimistic. Caroline's call suggests that tonight's revelation had an impact beyond just shock and damage control. Maybe some members of the family are genuinely capable of change. But change is a process, not a single conversation. And trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. I look out at the city lights. Boston has been my home for over a decade, but I've always felt like I was living in someone else's version of it. The Williams family's Boston is about history and tradition, about old money and older prejudices, but my Boston is different. It's about innovation and opportunity, about building something new while respecting what came before. I think about calling Dr. Sarah Kim, my therapist from business school, but decide I already know what she'd say. I've reached a turning point. For the first time in years, I feel like I acted with integrity. I didn't attack anyone or try to hurt them. I just stopped pretending that their behavior was acceptable. My business gave me a sense of my own worth that doesn't depend on other people's approval. Every affordable housing unit I've developed, every family that's found a home because of my work, that's real impact. That's who I am. Now I think it's time to stop living my life in reaction to other people's limitations. The Williams family will either choose to grow and change, or they won't. But I'm done making myself smaller to accommodate their comfort level. I pack up my things and head home to the brownstone that David and I bought 3 years ago. As I drive through the quiet streets, I think about the conversation I'll need to have with my husband when he gets home. Because while tonight was about confronting his family, tomorrow will be about deciding whether our marriage can survive the truth we've finally acknowledged. I'm sitting in our kitchen when David gets home at nearly midnight. I've changed into jeans and a sweater, clothes that feel more like me than the costume I wore to his family's dinner. He walks in looking exhausted, his usually perfect posture slumped. When he sees me, he stops as if he's not sure whether he's welcome in his own kitchen. "Hi," he says quietly. "Hi." He pours himself a scotch and sits across from me. "I stayed after you left. We talked for hours. How did that go?" "About as well as you'd expect. Mom spent most of the time crying and insisting she never meant to hurt you. Dad kept trying to find legal angles. Caroline felt guilty. Michael seemed genuinely shocked. And you?" I was furious. At them, at myself, at the whole situation. Mia, I had no idea how bad it had gotten. I knew my mother could be particular about traditions, but I didn't realize she was actively excluding you. She wasn't hiding it, David. The signs were all there. You just chose not to see them. He nods. You're right. I was conflict averse. I thought if I just kept the peace, everything would work itself out eventually, because acknowledging it would have meant choosing sides. Yes, and I was afraid of what that choice might cost me. He looks directly at me. But seeing you walk out that door tonight, Mia, I love my family, but I can't lose you. I won't lose you. Not over this. What does that mean? Practically speaking, it means I had some very direct conversations tonight. I told my mother that her behavior toward you has been unacceptable, and that it needs to change immediately. I told my father that his casual dismissal of your achievements is insulting and ignorant. I told all of them that if they can't treat you with the respect you deserve, they'll be seeing a lot less of both of us. How did they respond? Mom broke down completely. She kept saying she didn't realize that she never meant to hurt you. Dad got defensive and tried to argue that I was overreacting. Caroline supported me, which was surprising. Michael seemed genuinely remorseful. I take a sip of my tea and consider this. David, Your mother has been making subtle digs about my background for 7 years. She's questioned our wedding plans, criticized my career choices, and consistently made me feel like an outsider. That's not accidental behavior. That's a pattern. I know. And I told her that. I said that ignorance isn't an excuse anymore, and that she needs to examine her own biases if she wants to continue being part of our lives. And if she can't or won't do that, he meets my eyes steadily. Then she'll lose both of us. Mia, I choose you. I should have chosen you years ago, but I'm choosing you now. The words I've been waiting 7 years to hear. But trust isn't rebuilt with a single declaration. I appreciate that, David. But this isn't just about your family anymore. This is about us, about the dynamic we've created in our marriage. What do you mean? I mean that for 7 years, I've been the one making all the accommodations. I've been the one biting my tongue, swallowing my pride, and pretending everything was fine. You've been conflict averse, and I've been the one paying the price for your avoidance. He winces. You're right. I put you in an impossible position. It's more than that. I enabled this dynamic by not speaking up sooner. I convinced myself that being the good wife meant accepting treatment that I would never tolerate in any other relationship. So what does that mean for us? It means we both have to change. I can't go back to being the accommodating daughter-in-law who's grateful for scraps of acceptance. And you can't go back to being the passive husband who prioritizes family peace over his wife's dignity. I understand. And I want to change. Tell me what you need. I stand up and walk to the window. I need to see that you're willing to set real boundaries with your family. Not just tonight, when you're motivated by fear of losing me, but consistently, over time. I need to know that you'll speak up when they make inappropriate comments, even if it makes them uncomfortable. I will. And I need time. Time to rebuild trust. Time to figure out who I am when I'm not constantly trying to prove my worth to your family. He joins me at the window. What about the vineyard house? I've been thinking about this question. I don't know yet. Part of me wants to sell it just to prove a point, but the rational part of me knows that would be cutting off my nose to spite my face. It's a beautiful property, and I love it there. The family is terrified that you're going to sell it. Good. Maybe being terrified will motivate them to actually examine their behavior. So you might let them continue using it? David, the house isn't about your family anymore. It's about me, about what I want my life to look like. If they want to be part of that life, they need to earn the privilege. We stand in comfortable silence for a while. Finally, David speaks. There's something else we need to talk about. I've been thinking about making some changes at work. About stepping back from the family firm. This catches me off guard. David has worked for Williams & Associates since graduating from law school. Why? Because I don't want my career to be another way that I'm beholden to my family's approval. I've been thinking about it for months, actually. I want to do immigration law, help people navigate the system that your parents had to navigate when they came here. I turned to look at him, surprised. You've never mentioned that before, because I knew my family would hate it. Immigration law isn't prestigious enough for the Williams name. But tonight made me realize that I've been living my life according to other people's expectations instead of my own values. That's a big change. So is everything else we're talking about. Mia, if we're going to rebuild our marriage, I want to do it based on who we really are, not who our families think we should be. For the first time since I walked out of Thanksgiving dinner, I feel genuinely hopeful. It won't be easy. Your family won't like you walking away from the firm any more than they like having their behavior challenged. I know. But I can't keep prioritizing their comfort over our happiness. And if they cut you off, if they decide that you're no longer the son they raised, he considers this seriously. Then I'll build a new relationship with them based on mutual respect. Or I'll accept that some relationships aren't meant to survive growth. I reach for his hand, and he intertwines our fingers like we used to do when we were first dating. David, I want our marriage to work, but it has to be a partnership between equals. I can't be the wife who's grateful for whatever acceptance she can get. You never should have been that wife, and I never should have let you become her. So where do we go from here? We start over. We figure out who we are as a couple when we're not trying to please anyone else. We build something that's ours, based on our values and our vision for the future. And your family, they'll have to decide whether they want to be part of that future or not. But their decision won't determine ours. We talk until nearly 3 a.m, mapping out what change might look like. David will give his notice at the family firm after the holidays and start looking for positions with immigration rights organizations. We'll spend Christmas with my parents in San Francisco, establishing a new tradition that doesn't revolve around the Williams family calendar. And we'll use the Vineyard House for our own friends and chosen family, people who celebrate rather than tolerate our differences. As for the Williams family, they'll have to prove that they're capable of change. Words won't be enough anymore. We need to see consistent behavior that demonstrates respect and genuine acceptance. What if they can't change? David asks as we finally head upstairs to bed. Then we'll love them from a distance and build our own traditions. But David, I need you to understand something. I'm not going back to the way things were. I can't. I won't. I don't want you to. The woman who walked out of that dining room tonight, that's the woman I fell in love with at Harvard. Strong, brilliant, uncompromising when it comes to her values. I lost sight of her somewhere along the way, but I want her back. She never left. She just learned to make herself smaller to fit into spaces that weren't designed for her. Well, from now on, the spaces in our life will be designed for both of us. 3 months later, I'm sitting on the deck of the Martha's Vineyard House, watching the sunrise over the water. It's February, and the island is quiet and peaceful in the off-season. David is inside making coffee, and our friends Jake and Maria are still asleep in the guest house. We've been coming here most weekends since the holidays, reclaiming the space as our own. The Williams family hasn't been here since Thanksgiving. They've made progress. Margaret enrolled in a cultural competency class and has been reading books about unconscious bias. Caroline has become an unexpected ally, calling out problematic comments when she hears them. Richard remains skeptical, but has been making an effort to ask about my work with genuine interest. But trust is rebuilt slowly, and I'm not ready to share this space with them again yet. Maybe someday, when I'm confident that the changes are real and permanent. For now, it's enough to know that I have somewhere beautiful to come, with people who see and value me for exactly who I am. David joins me on the deck with 2 steaming mugs of coffee. The sunrise is incredible today. It always is. That's why I bought this place. No regrets about keeping it? None. This house represents the life I've built, not the life I was trying to fit into. It belongs to me, to us, to our future. And if the family continues to change, if they prove that they can do better, I consider this as I watch a fishing boat heading out for the day's work. Then maybe someday they can be part of our future too. But it has to be our decision, made on our terms. I love you, Mia Chen Williams. The woman who bought a house without telling anyone, who built a company from nothing, who finally stood up and demanded the respect she'd always deserved. I love you too. The man who was brave enough to choose growth over comfort, who walked away from family expectations to build something authentic. We sit in comfortable silence, watching the world wake up around us. It's been a difficult 3 months, full of hard conversations and painful realizations. But we're building something new now, something that's truly ours. My phone buzzes with a text from Jason. The Roxbury project is ahead of schedule. Families start moving in next month. Congratulations, boss. I smile and show the message to David. 150 families about to get new homes. Think our kids will thank us for this someday? If we're lucky enough to have kids, I think they'll grow up in a family that knows how to love without conditions, how to celebrate differences instead of tolerating them. I lean against his shoulder and watch the sun climb higher in the sky. We have a long way to go. But for the first time in years, I feel like we're headed in the right direction, together. The Thanksgiving that almost broke us ended up being the beginning of something better. Sometimes you have to be willing to lose everything to discover what's truly worth keeping. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to accept less than you deserve. I own more than just this house now. I own my story, my choices, and my future. And that's worth more than all the acceptance in the world.